At 3:47 a.m. on a quiet Tuesday morning, Dr. Maya Chen received a message that would change everything. The message came from Elon Musk's personal account, but the billionaire genius sounded terrified instead of confident. His words were simple but chilling. The Mars mission wasn't what the world thought it was, and someone was coming for anyone who knew the truth. But there was one problem with Elon's desperate warning. According to the breaking news reports flooding Maya's phone, Elon Musk's private jet had disappeared over the Nevada desert more than an hour before his message arrived. How do you send a message when you're already gone? Maya was about to discover that some secrets are worth killing for, and that the future of human freedom depends on a frightened engineer who just wanted to build rockets and honor her dead husband's memory. The clock was ticking. The conspiracy was deeper than anyone imagined. And Maya Chen was humanity's last hope to stop the most dangerous plot ever conceived. This is not a story about space exploration. This is a story about the battle for the human mind. Dr. Maya Chen's eyes snapped open in the darkness of her small bedroom. The red numbers on her clock glowed 3:47 a.m. Her secure tablet was buzzing on the nightstand, the special one that only SpaceX employees used for top-secret work messages. Maya rubbed her tired eyes and reached for the tablet. She lived alone in her tiny apartment in El Segundo, California, just 15 minutes from SpaceX's big rocket factory. The apartment felt too quiet since her husband David died in that car crash 2 years ago. Working late nights at SpaceX helped her forget the loneliness, but getting work messages at almost 4 a.m. was very strange. The message was from Elon Musk's personal account. Maya had worked with Elon many times during her 3 years as a rocket engineer at SpaceX, but he had never sent her a private message this late at night. Her hands started to shake as she... Maya, if you're reading this, something has happened to me. The Neuralink project isn't what we told the world. They're coming for anyone who knows the truth. Trust no one at the company. Find Dr. James Rodriguez at Stanford. He has the backup files. This is not an accident. Maya read the scary message 3 times. Her heart was beating fast, and her mouth felt dry. Yesterday afternoon, Elon seemed perfectly normal during their team meeting about sending rockets to Mars. He was excited and full of energy, just like always. He talked about how SpaceX astronauts would use special brain chips from his other company, Neuralink, to control spaceships with their thoughts during the long trip to Mars. But now Elon sounded terrified in this message. What did he mean by their coming? And why did he say the Neuralink project wasn't what they told everyone? Maya tried calling Elon's phone number, but it went straight to his voicemail recording. Hi, you've reached Elon. I'm probably working on rockets or brain chips. Leave a message and I'll call you back when I save humanity. Maya turned on her small TV and flipped through the news channels. CNN, Fox News, and MSNBC were all showing normal late-night programs. Nobody was reporting anything weird about Elon Musk. The news websites on her phone showed the same thing. No emergency stories about the world's most famous businessman. Maya lived by herself because making friends was hard after David died. David had been her college sweetheart. They got married right after she finished her engineering degree at MIT. When the police knocked on her door that terrible night 2 years ago to tell her about the car accident, Maya felt like her whole world ended. Working at SpaceX became her way to deal with the sadness. Building rockets that would take humans to other planets made her feel like she was helping create something bigger than her pain. Now, staring at Elon's frightening message, Maya felt that same cold fear she remembered from the night the police came to her door. She checked the message details on her tablet. It really was sent from Elon's verified account, using his personal secret codes that only he knew. But the location data showed the message came from Austin, Texas, where Elon had been living in a big house near his Tesla factory. Maya tried to think of reasons why Elon would send such a scary message. Maybe someone hacked his account. But the security codes were impossible to fake. Maybe he was playing some kind of weird joke. But Elon never joked about serious work stuff, especially not at 4 a.m. Maya got out of bed and put on jeans and a SpaceX t-shirt. She decided to drive to the SpaceX building to see if anyone there knew what was happening. Maybe other employees got the same strange message. She grabbed her car keys and opened the front door of her apartment. The cool California night air felt good on her worried face. But as Maya walked toward her small blue Honda Civic, she noticed something that made her stop breathing for a moment. A black SUV with tinted windows was parked across the street. Maya was sure it wasn't there when she came home from work yesterday evening. She always parked in the same spot and looked at the same view every day. The SUV was definitely new. Maya tried to convince herself it was just a coincidence. Maybe her neighbor had visitors. Maybe someone was working a late shift and needed a place to park. But deep in her stomach, she felt like someone was watching her. She got in her Honda and started the engine. The dashboard clock showed 4:15 a.m. As Maya backed out of her parking spot. She glanced in her rear-view mirror. The black SUV's headlights turned on. Maya drove slowly towards SpaceX, her hands gripping the steering wheel tightly. She kept checking her mirrors, but the SUV stayed far behind her. Maybe she was just being paranoid because of Elon's scary message. The roads were almost empty at this early hour. A few delivery trucks and late-night workers were the only other cars Maya saw. The SpaceX building came into view. A huge, modern factory where they built the Falcon Heavy rockets that could carry satellites into space, and the Starship rockets that would someday take people to Mars. Maya was about to turn into the SpaceX parking lot when her phone buzzed with a news alert. Her heart almost stopped as she read the breaking news headline. Tech billionaire Elon Musk missing after private jet disappears over Nevada. Maya pulled over to the side of the road and read the full news story with shaking hands. Elon's Gulfstream G650 private jet had lost contact with air traffic control at 2:30 a.m. while flying from Austin to Los Angeles. The plane was supposed to land at LAX airport at 4:00 a.m. for an important SpaceX board meeting. Maya looked at the timestamps and felt a chill run down her back. Elon's message was sent at 3:47 a.m., more than an hour after his plane disappeared. How could he send a message if his plane crashed somewhere in the Nevada desert? Unless Elon had set up the message to send automatically if something bad happened to him. Maya knew that smartphones and tablets could be programmed to send delayed messages. Maybe Elon suspected he was in danger and prepared the message as a warning. Maya sat in her car on the empty street, trying to understand what was happening. The man who wanted to put humans on Mars, who built electric cars to save the planet, who created brain chips to help paralyzed people. That man was missing and scared, and somehow he had chosen her to help. Maya looked toward the SpaceX building in the distance. She could see security guards walking around the parking lot and lights on in some of the windows where engineers worked all night testing rocket engines. She had to find out what Elon meant about the Neuralink project. She had to learn who they were and why they wanted to hurt people who knew the truth. Maya drove toward SpaceX headquarters, not knowing that this decision would change her life forever, and maybe save the world from the most dangerous threat humanity had ever faced. Maya's hands were still shaking as she drove into the SpaceX parking lot. The news about Elon's missing plane kept playing in her mind like a scary movie that wouldn't stop. She parked her Honda near the main building and read the news story again on her phone. The report said that Elon's fancy private jet, a Gulfstream G650, had disappeared from radar screens at exactly 2:30 a.m. The plane was flying from Austin, Texas to Los Angeles for an important SpaceX meeting this morning. Air traffic controllers tried to contact the pilot, but nobody answered the radio calls. Maya felt confused and scared. If Elon's plane crashed at 2:30 a.m., how did he send her that frightening message at 3:47 a.m.? That was more than an hour later. Maya knew that Elon was very smart with technology. Maybe he programmed his tablet to send the message automatically if something bad happened to him. But why would Elon think something bad might happen? And why did he choose to warn her instead of the police or the FBI? Maya looked at the SpaceX building in front of her. Even at 4:30 in the morning, the place was busy. Security guards walked around the parking lot with flashlights. Through the big windows, Maya could see engineers working late to prepare for tomorrow's rocket engine test. SpaceX never slept because space missions needed perfect timing. Maya used her employee keycard to get inside the building. Security guard at the front desk waved at her. "Working early again, Dr. Chen?" asked Jerry, the night security guard who knew all the engineers who worked strange hours. "Yeah, couldn't sleep," Maya said, trying to sound normal. "Thought I'd check on some computer files." Maya took the elevator to the third floor where her engineering office was located. The hallways were mostly empty and quiet. Her footsteps echoed on the shiny floors as she walked to her desk. Maya turned on her computer and tried to find the files about SpaceX's partnership with Neuralink. For the past 6 months, SpaceX had been working with Elon's brain chip company to develop special technology for astronauts going to Mars. The brain chips were supposed to help astronauts control their spaceships just by thinking, without using their hands. But when Maya searched for the Neuralink files on her computer, something shocking happened. Every single file was gone. All the documents, all the test results, all the meeting notes from the past 6 months had been deleted. Maya felt cold fear in her stomach. Someone with very high security access had erased everything. Maya checked the computer logs to see who deleted the files. The timestamp showed that someone removed all the Neuralink documents at 1:15 a.m., just over an hour before Elon's plane disappeared. This wasn't a coincidence. Someone knew that Elon was in trouble and quickly destroyed all the evidence about the secret project. Maya heard footsteps in the hallway. Her co-worker Tony Restrepo walked into the office area, carrying a cup of coffee and looking surprised to see her. "Maya, what are you doing here so early? You look like you saw a ghost." Maya had worked with Tony for 3 years. He was a friendly guy from Colombia who loved soccer and always brought homemade cookies to work meetings. Tony was one of the few people at SpaceX who knew about Maya's husband's death and always asked how she was feeling. Maya showed Tony her phone with the news story about Elon's missing plane. Tony's dark brown eyes got wide with shock. "No way. This is terrible news," Tony said. But Maya noticed something strange. Tony seemed more surprised that Maya was at work than about Elon's disappearance. "I'm sure Elon is fine," Tony said quickly, not looking directly at Maya. "You know how he is. Always full of surprises. Maybe he landed his plane somewhere else and forgot to tell the air traffic controllers." Maya had never seen Tony act this nervous before. In 3 years of working together, Tony was always calm and relaxed. Now he was fidgeting with his coffee cup and glancing toward the security cameras in the corners of the room. "Did you hear anything unusual about the Neuralink project?" Maya asked carefully. Tony's face went pale. "Neuralink? No. Why would I know anything about that? I work on rocket engines, not brain chips." But Maya knew that Tony was lying. As a senior engineer, Tony had access to most of SpaceX's secret projects. There was no way he didn't know about the Mars mission brain chip partnership. Maya decided not to push Tony for more information. If he was acting strange, maybe other people at SpaceX were involved in whatever was happening to Elon. "I think I'm gonna go home," Maya said. "I'm feeling sick." Maya packed her personal things from her desk, including a photo of her and David on their wedding day. She had a terrible feeling that she might not be coming back to SpaceX for a long time. As Maya walked toward the elevator, Tony called after her. "Maya, be careful driving home. The roads can be dangerous at this hour." There was something in Tony's voice that made Maya's skin crawl. It didn't sound like friendly advice. It sounded like a warning. Maya got in her Honda and drove out of the SpaceX parking lot. In her rearview mirror, she saw Tony talking on his cell phone and pointing toward her car. Maya's heart started beating fast. Tony was definitely not the friend she thought he was. Maya drove toward her apartment, but she kept checking her mirrors. The black SUV from earlier was following her again, staying about 3 cars behind. Maya felt trapped and scared. She couldn't trust anyone at SpaceX, and someone was watching her every move. Maya needed to find Dr. James Rodriguez at Stanford University, just like Elon's message said. But first, she had to get away from whoever was following her. Instead of going home, Maya drove to a 24-hour restaurant called Mel's All-Night Cave in Manhattan Beach. She parked it behind the building and ran inside through the back door, surprising the cook who was making breakfast. "Excuse me, can I use your back door?" Maya asked the confused cook. "I'm trying to avoid someone." The cook, a nice old man with gray hair, nodded and pointed toward the kitchen exit. Maya snuck out through the back and called an Uber ride on her phone. While waiting for her ride, she used the restaurant's Wi-Fi to research Dr. James Rodriguez. Dr. Rodriguez was a brain science professor at Stanford University who used to work for Neuralink, but 8 months ago he suddenly quit his job at Elon's company. The news reports never explained why such an important scientist would leave such an exciting project. Maya's Uber driver arrived, a college student named Kevin, who was working early morning shifts to pay for school. Maya asked Kevin to take her to Los Angeles International Airport. Flying somewhere fun? Kevin asked as they drove through the empty Los Angeles streets. San Francisco, Maya said. I have to see someone very important. During the ride to LAX, Maya bought a plane ticket on her phone. She would fly to San Francisco and then drive to Stanford University to find Dr. Rodriguez. Maybe he could explain what Elon meant about the Neuralink project not being what they told the world. At the airport, Maya felt safer surrounded by other travelers and security guards. She bought a coffee and a fuffin and sat near her gate thinking about everything that had happened. Maya kept remembering the last conversation she had with her husband David before he died. David worked as a computer programmer for a defense company that made software for the military. For weeks before his death, David had been acting scared and worried. Someone is watching me at work, David had told Maya one night. I think my project isn't what they told me it was. 3 days later, David's car crashed on a straight highway in perfect weather. The police said he must have fallen asleep while driving. But David was always a very careful driver. Now, sitting in the airport, Maya wondered if David's death and Elon's disappearance were connected somehow. Maybe both men discovered something dangerous that powerful people wanted to keep secret. Maya's plane took off at 7:30 a.m. As Los Angeles disappeared below the clouds, Maya felt like she was leaving her old life behind. She was no longer just a rocket engineer who missed her dead husband. Now she was the only person who could solve the mystery of Elon Musk's last message. The plane landed at San Francisco International Airport at 9:00 a.m. Maya rented a small white car and drove south towards Stanford University. The morning traffic was busy with people going to work, not knowing that one of the world's most important men was missing. Maya found the Stanford campus in Palo Alto. It was a beautiful place with old buildings and green trees everywhere. Students walked between classes carrying backpacks and talking about their homework. Maya asked a student where to find the psychology building. Dr. Rodriguez's office was on the second floor, but when Maya got there, his door was locked. A graduate student walking by told Maya something that made her heart sink. Dr. Rodriguez didn't come to work today, the student said. That's really weird, because he never misses his Monday morning classes. He's been acting strange for the past few weeks, like he was worried about something. Maya asked for Dr. Rodriguez's home address. She found it in the Stanford directory and drove to his house in a quiet neighborhood full of small, expensive homes. But when Maya arrived at Dr. Rodriguez's house, she saw something that made her blood run cold. The front door was wide open, and she could see overturned furniture inside. Maya parked her rental car across the street from Dr. Rodriguez's house and sat there for a few minutes, watching carefully. The small house looked like something from a fairy tale, with white walls and a red tile roof. But the open front door and the mess inside made it look scary instead of pretty. Maya checked her phone. It was 11:30 a.m. on a Monday morning. Most people in this nice neighborhood were at work or school. The street was quiet except for a few gardeners working on someone's lawn down the block. Maya got out of her car and walked slowly toward Dr. Rodriguez's house. Her heart was beating fast, and her hands felt sweaty. She was scared of what she might find inside. Dr. Rodriguez? Maya called out softly when she reached the front door. Hello? Are you okay? Nobody answered. Maya pushed the door open wider and stepped inside carefully. The living room was a mess, but not in a violent way. It looked like someone had searched through everything very quickly. Books were scattered on the wooden floor. Desk drawers were pulled open with papers hanging out. A lamp was knocked over, but it wasn't broken. Maya noticed there was no blood anywhere, and no signs that anyone got hurt. This wasn't a fight, it was a search. Someone had been looking for something important. Maya walked through the small house, calling Dr. Rodriguez's name. The kitchen was messy too, with cabinet doors open and dishes on the counter. The bedroom looked like someone had gone through all the clothes in the closet. In Dr. Rodriguez's home office, Maya found something interesting. Behind a bookshelf that had fallen over, she could see a small safe built into the wall. The safe door was wide open and completely empty. But taped inside the empty safe was a small piece of paper with a message written in blue ink. Maya, if Elon sent you, check the greenhouse. Jr. Maya felt amazed and confused at the same time. How did Dr. Rodriguez know that she would come looking for him? And how did he know that Elon Musk would send her? It was like Dr. Rodriguez could see into the future. Maya went out the back door into Dr. Rodriguez's backyard. It was a small space with grass and flower beds. At the far end was a little greenhouse made of glass and metal where Dr. Rodriguez grew tomatoes and herbs. Maya opened the greenhouse door and breathed in the warm, humid air that smelled like soil and growing plants. She looked around carefully at all the pots and gardening tools. Under a big tomato plant in the corner, Maya found some dirt that looked recently disturbed. She used a saw gardening shovel to dig carefully in that spot. About 6 inches down, her shovel hit something hard. Maya pulled out a waterproof plastic container, like the kind people use for camping. Inside were 3 things that made her gasp: a small USB computer drive, a long handwritten letter, and a stack of printed emails. Maya sat on a wooden stool in the greenhouse and read Dr. Rodriguez's letter with shaking hands. Dear Maya, Elon told me you were the only person at SpaceX he completely trusted. If you're reading this letter, then our worst fears have come true. And something terrible has happened to Elon. I worked for Neuralink for 2 years, helping to develop brain chips that could help paralyzed people control computers with their thoughts. It was beautiful work that could help millions of people live better lives. But 3 months ago, I discovered that Neuralink's brain chips can do much more than help paralyzed people. The chips can also control people's thoughts and actions. Someone with the right computer codes can make a person do anything they want, like controlling a puppet. A group of rich investors led by a man named Viktor Petrov has been secretly paying Neuralink millions of dollars. They don't want to help paralyzed people. They want to use the brain chips to control world leaders, military generals, and anyone else who has power. Viktor Petrov owns a company called Neural Dynamics. His people have been working inside SpaceX, Tesla, and Neuralink for months, pretending to be normal employees. They're planning to use the Mars mission as a way to test their mind control technology on astronauts. Think about it. The Mars colonists will be perfect test subjects. They'll be far away from Earth with no way to escape. They'll be completely dependent on the mission leaders for food, air, and water, and they'll be motivated to try any technology that might help them survive on Mars. Viktor Petrov's plan is to tell the astronauts that the brain chips are just for communication and health monitoring during the long space journey. The astronauts won't know that the chips can also control their minds until it's too late. Once Viktor Petrov perfects his mind control system on Mars, he plans to use it on Earth. Imagine if he could control presidents, kings, and prime ministers all around the world. He could start wars, crash economies, or do whatever makes him more powerful and rich. Elon found out about this evil plan 3 weeks ago. He's been trying to stop Viktor Petrov, but it's very dangerous. Viktor Petrov's people are everywhere, and they'll hurt anyone who threatens their plan. The USB drive contains proof of everything I'm telling you. There are secret financial records, video recordings of mind control tests, and emails between Viktor Petrov and his team. You have to get this evidence to FBI agent Sarah Kim at the FBI's San Francisco office. She's the only law enforcement officer we trust to handle this correctly. Elon was supposed to meet with Agent Kim today to give her all the evidence, but now Elon is missing. And I'm probably in danger too. You might be the only person left who can stop Viktor Petrov. Be very careful, Maya. Viktor Petrov's people are watching everyone connected to this case. Trust no one except Agent Kim. I hope you can save Elon and stop this terrible plan. Your friend, Dr. James Rodriguez. Maya felt sick to her stomach as she finished reading the letter. She looked through the printed emails and saw horrible things that made her want to cry. One email from Viktor Petrov to his team said, "The Mars colonists will be perfect test subjects. They'll be isolated from Earth, completely dependent on us for survival, and motivated to try experimental technology. Once we perfect the mind control system on Mars, we can use it anywhere on Earth." Another email talked about testing the brain chips on people without their knowledge. Subject 47 responded perfectly remote commands. He had no memory of his actions afterward. The technology is ready for larger-scale implementation. Maya realized that Viktor Petrov was planning the most evil crime in human history. He wanted to turn people into robots that he could control with computers. And he was using Elon Musk's Mars mission as his testing ground. Maya put the USB drive, letter, and emails in her backpack. She had to get this evidence to FBI agent Sarah Kim immediately. But as Maya prepared to leave the greenhouse, She heard something that made her freeze with terror. Car doors were slamming shut in front of Dr. Rodriguez's house. Through the greenhouse windows, Maya could see 3 men in dark suits walking up the front pathway. One of them was talking on a cell phone in what sounded like a Russian accent. Maya remembered that Viktor Petrov was originally from Russia before he moved to Silicon Valley. These must be his men, and they were here looking for the same evidence that Maya had just found. Maya crouched down behind the tomato plants and watched as the men entered Dr. Rodriguez's house. She could hear them talking loudly as they searched through rooms that had already been searched before. "Find anything that connects to the Mars project," one man said in heavily accented English. The professor must have hidden backup files somewhere. Maya realized she was trapped in the greenhouse. If the men searched the backyard, they would find her. And if they caught her with Viktor Petrov's secret documents, Maya knew she would end up like Dr. Rodriguez, missing and possibly dead. Maya looked around the greenhouse for another way out. There was a small window on the back wall that opened toward the neighbor's yard. It was barely big enough for Maya to crawl through, but it might be her only escape. Maya could hear the men getting closer to the back door of the house. One of them said, "Check the backyard and that little greenhouse. Make sure the professor didn't hide anything outside." Maya grabbed her backpack and crawled toward the small window as quietly as she could. But just as she reached for the window latch, she heard footsteps on the grass outside the greenhouse. The door handle of the greenhouse began to turn. Maya's heart pounded so loudly she was sure the men outside could hear it. The greenhouse door handle turned slowly as she scrambled toward the small back window. Her hands were shaking so badly she could barely work the window latch. The window finally opened with a small creak. Maya squeezed through the narrow opening just as the greenhouse door opened behind her. She heard a man's deep voice with a thick Russian accent say, "Someone was just here. The dirt is freshly disturbed." Maya dropped quietly into the neighbor's backyard and crawled behind a large bush. Through the greenhouse windows, she could see 2 men searching through the tomato plants. One of them found the hole where Maya had dug up Dr. Rodriguez's hidden container. "The evidence is gone," the man said angrily. "Someone got here before us." Maya stayed hidden behind the bush and listened to the men talking. "Victor will not be happy," said another voice. "We were supposed to get those files before anyone else found them." Maya knew she had to get away from Dr. Rodriguez's house immediately. She crawled along the neighbor's fence until she reached the front yard, then ran as quietly as possible to her rental car parked across the street. Maya got in her white rental car and started the engine, trying to look calm even though her whole body was shaking. She drove slowly down the street, checking her rearview mirror constantly. After a few blocks, she saw a black SUV pull out from Dr. Rodriguez's street and begin following her. Maya's mind raced as she drove through the streets of Palo Alto. She had the evidence that could stop Viktor Petrov's evil plan, but she was being chased by dangerous men who would do anything to get it back. She needed to reach FBI agent Sarah Kim in San Francisco, but first she had to escape from her followers. Maya remembered a trick her husband David had taught her when they were dating. David loved action movies and always joked about how to lose people who were following you. "Drive to a crowded place with lots of exits," David used to say. "Shopping malls are perfect because they have multiple parking levels and lots of ways to escape." Maya drove to Stanford Shopping Center, a big outdoor mall near the university. She parked on the second level of the parking garage and quickly walked into the busy mall through the Macy's department store. The mall was full of people shopping, eating lunch, and walking around with their families. Maya felt safer surrounded by so many normal people living their regular lives. Maya found a quiet corner near a coffee shop and called the FBI's San Francisco office using her cell phone. She asked to speak with Agent Sarah Kim. "I'm sorry," said the receptionist, "but Agent Kim is not available right now. Can I take a message?" Maya felt frustrated and scared. Dr. Rodriguez's letter said that Agent Kim was the only FBI agent they could trust. Maya didn't want to give the evidence to the wrong person. "This is about Elon Musk's disappearance and a threat to national security," Maya said. "Agent Kim needs to know that I have important evidence about a company called Neural Dynamics." The receptionist put Maya on hold for several minutes. Finally, a woman's voice came on the line. "This is Agent Sarah Kim. Who is this? And how did you get my name?" Maya explained that Dr. Rodriguez had told her to contact Agent Kim about Viktor Petrov's mind control conspiracy. Agent Kim sounded very surprised to hear from Maya. Where did you get this information? Agent Kim asked. Dr. Rodriguez was supposed to meet with us yesterday, but he never showed up. Maya told Agent Kim about finding Dr. Rodriguez's hidden evidence and about the men who chased her from his house. Agent Kim agreed to meet Maya at a safe location where they could talk privately. There's a small cafe in San Francisco's Chinatown called Golden Dragon Restaurant, Agent Kim said. It's on Grant Avenue near the Dragon Gate. Can you meet me there in 2 hours? Maya agreed to the meeting. She left the shopping mall through a different exit and drove her rental car towards San Francisco. The black SUV was no longer following her, but Maya still felt nervous and scared. During the drive to San Francisco, Maya thought about everything she had learned. Viktor Petrov wanted to control people's minds using Elon Musk's brain chip technology. He planned to test his evil system on Mars colonists who would have no way to escape. If Viktor Petrov succeeded, he could control world leaders and take over entire countries. Maya also thought about her husband David. His mysterious death was starting to make more sense. Maybe David had discovered something about Viktor Petrov's company while working on his military software project. Maybe David was killed to keep him quiet, just like Dr. Rodriguez had disappeared. Maya drove through the busy streets of San Francisco and found a parking spot near Chinatown. The neighborhood was crowded with tourists taking pictures and local people going about their daily business. Maya found the Golden Dragon restaurant on Grant Avenue. It was a small, traditional Chinese restaurant with red decorations and round tables. Maya arrived 15 minutes early and chose a table in the back corner where she could watch the front door. At exactly 3:00 p.m., a woman in a dark blue business suit walked into the restaurant. She had short brown hair and looked like she was in her 40s. The woman looked around the restaurant and walked toward Maya's table. "Are you Maya?" the woman asked. "Yes." "Are you Agent Kim?" "I am. Thank you for calling me about this case." Agent Kim sat down across from Maya. She ordered tea from the waiter and waited for him to leave before speaking again. "Show me what evidence you found," Agent Kim said quietly. Maya was about to reach into her backpack for Dr. Rodriguez's USB drive when she noticed something that made her blood turn cold. At a table near the front window, she saw a man in a dark suit reading a newspaper. Maya recognized his face. He was one of the men who had searched Dr. Rodriguez's house. Maya realized this was a trap. Agent Sarah Kim was not really FBI. She was working with Viktor Petrov's people. Maya pretended to look for something in her backpack while thinking quickly about how to escape. The fake Agent Kim was watching her carefully, waiting for Maya to hand over the evidence. "I'm sorry," Maya said. "I think I left the USB drive in my car. Let me go get it." Maya stood up and walked toward the restaurant's back exit, trying not to look scared or in a hurry. But as she reached the door, the fake Agent Kim called out loudly, "Stop her. She has the files." The man by the window dropped his newspaper and ran toward Maya. Maya pushed through the restaurant's back door and found herself in a narrow alley behind the building. Maya ran down the alley as fast as she could. She could hear footsteps behind her, and men shouting in Russian accents. Maya reached the end of the alley and turned onto a busy Chinatown street, filled with tourists and shoppers. Maya ran through the crowded sidewalks, pushing past people taking pictures and families walking slowly. She ducked into a souvenir shop selling postcards and t-shirts, hoping to hide from her pursuers. Through the shop window, Maya could see two men in dark suits searching the street and looking into other stores. Maya knew she couldn't hide in the souvenir shop forever. Maya saw a sign pointing toward the BART subway station. If she could reach the underground train system, she might be able to escape to another part of the city. Maya left the souvenir shop and walked quickly toward the subway entrance, trying to blend in with other people. But just as she reached the top of the subway stairs, she heard a familiar voice behind her. "Maya Chen, stop right there." Maya turned around and saw Viktor Petrov himself walking toward her. He was a tall man with silver hair and cold blue eyes that made Maya feel like she was looking at a snake. Two bodyguards walked beside him, and Maya could see more men positioned around the subway entrance. Maya realized she was surrounded with nowhere to run. Maya stood frozen at the top of the subway stairs as Viktor Petrov walked closer. His cold blue eyes stared at her like a predator looking at its prey. The two bodyguards beside him were huge men who looked like they could crush Maya with their bare hands. "Dr. Maya Chen," Viktor Petrov said in a smooth voice with just a hint of a Russian accent. "You have caused me quite a lot of trouble today." Maya's phone buzzed in her pocket. Without thinking, she glanced down at the screen and saw a text message that made her heart stop. "Stop investigating or watch your sister die. We know where Emma works in Denver." Maya's hands started shaking as she read the message. Her sister Emma was a nurse at Denver General Hospital in Colorado. Emma had no idea about Maya's investigation into Viktor Petrov. Emma was just a kind, hard-working person who spent her days helping sick people get better. Maya hadn't talked to Emma in 2 weeks because they were both so busy with work. Emma always sent funny text messages about her patients and complained about working too many night shifts. Emma was the only family Maya had left after their parents died in a house fire 3 years ago. "I see you got our message about your sister," Viktor Petrov said with a cruel smile. "Emma is such a dedicated nurse. She arrived at work early today for her shift in the emergency room. It would be terrible if something happened to her." Maya felt anger burning in her chest. It was bad enough that Viktor Petrov had hurt Elon Musk and Dr. Rodriguez, but threatening Emma was crossing a line that Maya could not forgive. "Leave my sister alone," Maya said, trying to keep her voice steady. "She has nothing to do with this." "That depends entirely on you," Viktor Petrov replied. "Give me Dr. Rodriguez's evidence, and your sister will be perfectly safe. Refuse and Emma will have a very unfortunate accident at the hospital tonight." Maya looked around desperately. Viktor Petrov's men had positioned themselves at every exit from the subway station area. Tourists and local people walked by, not knowing they were witnessing a confrontation between good and evil. Maya thought about Emma working in the hospital emergency room, helping people who were hurt or sick. Emma became a nurse because she wanted to make the world a better place. Now Emma was in danger because Maya was trying to stop Viktor Petrov's evil plan. But Maya also thought about the hundreds of astronauts who would volunteer for the Mars mission. They would trust Elon Musk and SpaceX to keep them safe during the dangerous journey to another planet. They would accept brain chips thinking the technology would help them, not knowing that Viktor Petrov planned to turn them into mind-controlled slaves. If Viktor Petrov succeeded with his Mars plan, he could eventually control world leaders, military generals, and anyone else he wanted. Millions of people could become victims of his mind-control technology. Maya realized that the best way to protect Emma was to expose Viktor Petrov's crimes to the world. Once everyone knew about the conspiracy, Viktor Petrov couldn't hurt people without the whole world watching him. "I don't have the evidence with me," Maya lied, hoping to buy some time to think of an escape plan. Viktor Petrov's eyes narrowed. "I know you found Dr. Rodriguez's hidden files. My men saw the disturbed soil in his greenhouse. Where did you put the USB drive?" Maya's mind raced. She needed to get away from Viktor Petrov and contact a real FBI agent or a journalist who could publish the story. But how could she escape when she was surrounded? Then Maya remembered something her husband David used to say when they watched action movies together. "The best way to escape from bad guys is to create chaos and confusion." Maya looked around and saw that they were standing near the entrance to San Francisco's Chinatown during the busy afternoon shopping hours. The streets were crowded with tourists taking pictures, families walking to restaurants, and local people going about their daily business. Maya took a deep breath and shouted as loudly as she could, "Help! These men are trying to kidnap me." Every person on the busy street stopped and looked toward Maya and Viktor Petrov. Tourists pointed their cameras in their direction. A group of teenage students pulled out their phones and started recording video. Viktor Petrov's face turned red with anger. His bodyguards looked confused and didn't know what to do with so many people watching them. "She's lying," Viktor Petrov said to the crowd. "This woman is mentally ill." But Maya kept shouting, "Call the police. This man threatened to kill my sister." A brave tourist, an elderly man wearing a San Francisco Giants baseball cap, stepped forward. "Leave this young lady alone," he said firmly to Viktor Petrov. More people gathered around, creating a protective circle around Maya. Someone in the crowd was already calling 911 on their phone. Viktor Petrov realized his plan was falling apart. With so many witnesses and video cameras, he couldn't kidnap Maya without creating a huge public scene. He whispered something to his bodyguards and started walking away. "This isn't over, Dr. Chen," Viktor Petrov called back to Maya. "Remember what happens to your sister if you don't cooperate. as Viktor Petrov and his men disappeared into the crowd. Maya thanked the people who had helped her. The elderly man in the giant's cap patted her shoulder kindly. "Are you okay, miss? Do you need us to stay until the police arrive?" Maya was grateful for his kindness, but she knew the police wouldn't be able to help her. Viktor Petrov had people working inside law enforcement agencies. Maya needed to find someone else who could publish her story and protect her sister. Maya walked quickly away from the subway station before the police arrived. She found an internet cafe a few blocks away and used a computer to search for investigative journalists who specialized in exposing corporate corruption. Maya found the contact information for Rebecca Walsh, a reporter for the Washington Post newspaper, who had written several articles about technology companies doing illegal things. Maya sent Rebecca an encrypted email with some of the evidence files from Dr. Rodriguez's USB drive. Within 30 minutes, Rebecca called Maya's cell phone. "I've been investigating Viktor Petrov and neural dynamics for 2 years," Rebecca said in an excited voice. "I knew something terrible was happening, but I could never prove it. If you really have evidence of mind control experiments, we need to immediately." Rebecca suggested they meet at the San Francisco Museum of Modern Art, where they could blend in with other visitors and talk safely without being overheard. Maya took a taxi to the museum and found Rebecca in the contemporary art section. Rebecca was a woman in her mid-40s, with graying brown hair and intelligent eyes that reminded Maya of her favorite teacher from college. Maya showed Rebecca some of the documents and photos from Dr. Rodriguez's USB drive. Rebecca's face grew pale as she looked at the evidence. "This is even worse than I thought," Rebecca said quietly. "Viktor Petrov isn't just trying to control individual people. He's planning to control entire governments. With world leaders under mind control, he could start wars, crash economies, or do whatever benefits his business interests." Rebecca explained that she had been investigating several mysterious deaths of scientists and engineers who worked on brain-computer interface technology. Maya's husband might have discovered something about neural dynamics plans, which could explain why he died in that suspicious car crash. "We need to publish this story immediately," Rebecca said. "But first, we need to find out what happened to Elon Musk. If he's still alive, Viktor Petrov might be trying to force him to help with the Mars mind control project." Maya and Rebecca spent 2 hours in the museum, walking slowly through the art galleries, while making plans to investigate Neural Dynamics headquarters in Fremont, California. They pretended to admire paintings and sculptures while discussing how to expose Viktor Petrov's crimes to the world. As they prepared to leave the museum, Maya felt hopeful for the first time since receiving Elon's frightening message. She wasn't alone anymore. Rebecca had the connections and experience to publish their story in a major newspaper where millions of people would read it. But as Maya and Rebecca walked toward the museum exit, Maya's phone buzzed with another text message that made her blood run cold. "Your new reporter friend won't save you. We have Emma. Stop investigating now or she dies tonight." Maya's hands shook as she showed the message to Rebecca. Maya realized that Viktor Petrov's reach was longer than she had imagined. Even when she thought she was being careful and smart, he was always one step ahead of her. Maya had to choose between saving her sister and saving the world from mind control slavery. But maybe, just maybe, there was a way to do both. Maya stared at the threatening text message about Emma, her hands shaking with fear and anger. Rebecca put a comforting hand on Maya's shoulder as they stood outside the San Francisco Museum of Modern Art. "We can't let Viktor Petrov win," Rebecca said firmly. "The best way to protect Emma is to expose his crimes publicly. Once the story is published, he can't hurt anyone without the whole world watching." Maya tried to call Emma's hospital in Denver, but when she asked to speak with her sister, the nurse at the front desk gave her terrible news. "I'm sorry, but Emma Chen called in sick today," the nurse said. "That's very unusual because Emma never misses work even when she's really sick." Maya's heart sank. Emma loved her job and took pride in helping patients. Emma would never miss work unless something was seriously wrong. Maya tried calling Emma's cell phone, but it went straight to voicemail. Maya heard her sister's cheerful voice saying, "Hi, you've reached Emma. I'm probably saving lives at the hospital. Leave a message and I'll call you back when I'm done being a superhero." Tears filled Maya's eyes as she listened to Emma's happy voice. Emma always joked about being a superhero because she worked so hard to help sick people get better. Now Emma needed a real superhero to save her. Rebecca saw how upset Maya was and suggested they go somewhere private to make plans. They walked to Rebecca's hotel room in downtown San Francisco, checking carefully to make sure nobody was following them. In Rebecca's hotel room, Maya showed her all the evidence from Dr. Rodriguez's USB drive. Rebecca connected her laptop computer to a special secure internet connection that she used for investigating dangerous stories. "This evidence is incredible," Rebecca said as she looked through the files. "We have financial records showing Viktor Petrov's secret payments to Neuralink. We have emails describing the mind control experiments. We even have video recordings of test subjects being controlled like puppets." Rebecca called her editor at the Washington Post and explained the situation. Maya could hear the editor's excited voice through the phone as Rebecca described the conspiracy. "This is the biggest story I've ever worked on," Rebecca told Maya. "My editor wants to publish it immediately, but we need to verify a few more facts first. The legal team has to make sure we won't get sued for publishing these accusations." While Rebecca worked with her newspaper team, Maya researched neural dynamics online. Viktor Petrov's company had offices in several countries, but the main headquarters was in Fremont, California, only about an hour's drive from San Francisco. Maya found satellite photos of the Neural Dynamics building on Google Maps. It looked like a normal technology company office, but Maya noticed some unusual things. There were no windows on the first floor, security cameras everywhere, and several parking areas that were blocked from public view. "I think Elon might be held prisoner in that building," Maya told Rebecca. "If Viktor Petrov is using mind control on him, Elon could be in there right now." Rebecca agreed that they needed to investigate the Neural Dynamics headquarters, but first she wanted to finish preparing the newspaper story for publication. At 10:00 p.m., Rebecca got a call from her editor with good news. The Washington Post's lawyers had verified that Maya's evidence was real and legally safe to publish. The story would go online at midnight and be printed in tomorrow's newspaper. "Once this story is published, Viktor Petrov will be the most wanted criminal in the world," Rebecca told Maya. "He'll have to release Emma and stop his mind control plan because everyone will be watching him." Maya felt hopeful for the first time since receiving Elon's frightening message, but she also felt worried about Emma. What if Viktor Petrov heard Emma before the story was published? At 11:30 p.m., Maya and Rebecca drove to an all-night diner to wait for the story to go online. Maya drank coffee and tried to eat a sandwich, but her stomach was too nervous to handle food properly. At exactly midnight, Rebecca refreshed the Washington Post website on her laptop. The headline appeared at the top of the page: "Silicon Valley CEO accused of mind control plot targeting Mars colonists." "It's online," Rebecca said with a big smile. "The whole world can read it now." Within minutes, the story was being shared on social media websites like Twitter and Facebook. News organizations around the world started calling Rebecca for interviews. Maya watched as thousands of people read about Viktor Petrov's evil plan and shared the story with their friends. But Maya's happiness was short-lived. At 12:30 a.m., her phone rang with a call from an unknown number. "Hello, Maya," said Viktor Petrov's cold voice. "I see you've been busy tonight." "Where is my sister?" Maya demanded. "Emma is safe for now," Viktor Petrov replied. "But publishing that story was a very big mistake. Now I have no choice but to accelerate my plans." Maya felt confused and scared. "What do you mean?" "I'm going to use my controlled version of Elon Musk to announce an immediate launch of the Mars mission," Viktor Petrov explained. "The rocket will launch tomorrow morning, with all the astronauts already infected with my mind control implants. Once they're on their way to Mars, nobody can stop my experiment." Maya's blood turned cold. Viktor Petrov was moving faster than she and Rebecca had expected. If the Mars mission launched with mind-controlled astronauts, Viktor Petrov could perfect his evil technology in space where nobody could interfere. "You have 1 hour to come to my headquarters in Fremont," Viktor Petrov continued. "Come alone and bring all of Dr. Rodriguez's evidence. Do this, and I'll release your sister and cancel the Mars launch. Refuse, and Emma dies, and hundreds of astronauts become my slaves." The phone call ended, leaving Maya staring at Rebecca with tears in her eyes. "He wants me to trade myself and the evidence for Emma's life," Maya said. "But if I do that, he'll launch the Mars mission anyway, and nobody will be able to stop him." Rebecca shook her head firmly. "It's a trap, Maya. Viktor Petrov has no intention in keeping his promises. If you go to his headquarters, he'll kill both you and Emma. Maya felt torn between her love for Emma and her responsibility to save the Mars astronauts. She had 1 hour to make the most important decision of her life. Then Maya's phone buzzed with a news alert that made her heart stop completely. Breaking news: Elon Musk announces emergency Mars mission launch. SpaceX CEO says we can't wait any longer. Humanity's future depends on reaching Mars immediately. Maya clicked on the news link and watched a video of Elon Musk giving a press conference. But something was terribly wrong with Elon. He spoke in a flat, emotionless voice that sounded nothing like his usual enthusiastic tone. His eyes looked empty and unfocused, like he was sleepwalking. Viktor Petrov is already using mind control on Elon, Maya whispered in horror. He's going to launch the Mars mission whether I surrender or not. Rebecca grabbed her laptop and started typing frantically. We need to publish a follow-up story immediately. If we can warn people that Elon is being mind-controlled, maybe we can stop the launch. But Maya realized that a newspaper story wouldn't be enough to stop a rocket launch that was already in progress. She needed to get to SpaceX's launch facility in Texas and physically stop the mission before the astronauts became Viktor Petrov's victims. Maya looked at Rebecca with determination in her eyes. I have to go to Texas and stop that launch myself. That's suicide, Maya, Rebecca said. Viktor Petrov's people will be waiting for you. Maya thought about Emma, about Elon, about Dr. Rodriguez, and about her husband David, who had died trying to stop this same conspiracy. All the people she loved had suffered because of Viktor Petrov's evil plans. Maybe, Maya said quietly. But I'm the only person who knows the technical details of SpaceX's systems well enough to stop a launch. If I don't try, hundreds of astronauts will become mind-controlled slaves. Maya made her choice. She would go to Texas to save the Mars mission astronauts. She would find a way to rescue Emma, and somehow she would stop Viktor Petrov once and for all. But first, she had to survive the most dangerous night of her life. Maya and Rebecca rushed to San Francisco International Airport as fast as they could drive. Maya had booked the last flight to Austin, Texas, leaving at 2:30 a.m. From Austin, she would drive to SpaceX's Starbase launch facility near the Mexican border. You don't have to do this alone, Rebecca said as they hurried through the empty airport terminal. I can come with you to Texas. Maya shook her head. Viktor Petrov's people will be watching for both of us now. It's safer if we split up. You need to keep publishing stories to make sure the world knows what's happening. Maya's phone kept buzzing with news alerts about Elon's emergency Mars mission announcement. Every major news channel was covering the story, but none of them knew that Elon was being controlled by someone else. At the airport security checkpoint, Maya hugged Rebecca goodbye. Maya felt scared about flying to Texas alone, but she also felt determined. Too many people had already suffered because of Viktor Petrov's evil plan. During the 2-hour flight to Austin, Maya studied the technical details of SpaceX's Starship rocket on her laptop. She needed to understand exactly how to stop a launch that was already in progress. Maya knew that SpaceX had emergency abort systems, but Viktor Petrov might have disabled them. The plane landed in Austin at 4:45 a.m. Maya rented a car and drove south toward the SpaceX Starbase facility, about 4 hours away. The Texas highways were mostly empty in the early morning darkness. As Maya drove through small Texas towns, she listened to radio news reports about the Mars mission. The launch was scheduled for 10:00 a.m., which gave Maya less than 5 hours to figure out how to stop it. Maya tried calling her SpaceX colleagues to warn them about Viktor Petrov, but most of them didn't answer their phones so early in the morning. The few who did answer thought Maya was having a mental breakdown. Maya, you sound crazy, said her friend Jessica from the propulsion team. Why would anyone want to control Elon's mind? And why would you think the Mars mission is dangerous? Maya realized that her SpaceX coworkers would never believe such an incredible story without proof. They trusted Elon completely and would follow his orders even if he was being mind-controlled. At 8:30 a.m., Maya arrived at the SpaceX Starbase facility near Brownsville, Texas. The area was buzzing with activity as hundreds of engineers and technicians prepared for the historic Mars mission launch. Maya used her SpaceX employee badge to enter the facility. She was amazed and terrified by how quickly the launch preparations were moving. The massive Starship rocket was being fueled with liquid oxygen and methane, and astronauts were already boarding transport vehicles to be taken to the launch pad. Maya walked quickly toward the Launch Control Center, hoping to find someone in charge who would listen to her warnings. But as she approached the main building, she saw something that made her heart almost stop beating. Through the windows of a conference room, Maya could see a group of people having a meeting. One of them was definitely Elon Musk, but something was horribly wrong with him. Elon was sitting at the conference table, but he wasn't moving naturally. He sat perfectly straight, like a robot, and his eyes stared straight ahead without blinking. When he spoke, his voice was flat and emotionless, completely different from his usual excited and energetic way of talking. Maya crept closer to the window and listened to the conversation inside the conference room. "The Mars colonists will accept the brain implants willingly," Elon said in his strange, monotone voice. "They trust me completely. The surgical procedure can be performed during the 6-month journey while the astronauts are in hibernation sleep." Sitting across from Elon was Viktor Petrov, along with 2 men in white lab coats who looked like doctors or scientists. Maya realized with horror that Elon had already been implanted with Viktor Petrov's mind control device. Viktor Petrov was using Elon like a puppet, controlling his thoughts and words to promote the evil Mars mission plan. "Excellent," Viktor Petrov said with a satisfied smile. "Your personal endorsement will convince the other space agencies around the world to adopt our brain implant technology. Soon we'll have mind control devices in astronauts from America, Europe, Russia, and China." One of the scientists showed Viktor Petrov a tablet with brain scan images and charts. "The implant is working perfectly in Subject 1, the scientist said. "He shows no signs of independent thinking. The subject genuinely believes he wants to help us achieve our goals, and he has no memory of his original opposition to our project." Maya felt sick to her stomach. Subject 1 was Elon Musk. Viktor Petrov had completely erased Elon's real personality and replaced it with artificial thoughts and goals that served the conspiracy. Viktor Petrov looked at his expensive watch. "What about the other loose ends we discussed?" "Dr. Rodriguez tried to escape this morning," one of the scientists reported. "Our people found him at the Denver airport, trying to board a flight to Washington, D.C. He's been brought to the facility and is now Subject 2. The brain implant procedure was completed an hour ago." Maya's heart sank even deeper. Dr. Rodriguez had also been captured and mind-controlled. Maya wondered if Dr. Rodriguez still remembered writing the letter that had led her to this discovery, or if those memories had been erased too. "What about the SpaceX engineer, Maya Chen?" Viktor Petrov asked. "She's proven more resourceful than we expected," the scientist replied. "But our people are tracking her movements through airport security cameras and credit card usage. She'll be captured within the next few hours and will become Subject 3. Maya felt cold fear wash over her. Viktor Petrov knew exactly where she was and what she was doing. After she became Subject 3, Viktor Petrov would have complete control over SpaceX's technical systems through her engineering knowledge. Maya realized she might be walking into a trap, but she was too close to the truth to give up now. She had to find a way to save Elon and stop the Mars mission launch before more innocent people became victims. Maya carefully moved away from the conference room window and looked around the SpaceX facility for the Launch Control Center. She needed to reach the mission abort system before Viktor Petrov's people captured her. But as Maya walked through the facility corridors, she noticed something that made her blood run cold. Several of the SpaceX employees she passed looked strange and robotic, just like Elon had looked in the conference room. These workers moved stiffly and spoke in flat, emotionless voices. Their eyes had the same empty stare that Maya had seen in Elon's face. Maya realized that Viktor Petrov had been mind-controlling SpaceX employees for weeks or maybe months. Maya didn't know who she could trust anymore. Any of her co-workers might be under Viktor Petrov's control, ready to capture her and turn her into another puppet. Maya found a bathroom and locked herself inside to think about what to do next. She had less than an hour before the Mars mission launch, and she was surrounded by mind-controlled people who would stop her from reaching the abort system. Maya looked at herself in the bathroom mirror. Her face was pale and tired from the sleepless night, but her eyes still showed determination. She thought about Emma, about Elon, about Dr. Rodriguez, and about all the astronauts who were about to become victims of Viktor Petrov's evil experiment. Maya made a decision. Even if she couldn't save herself, she had to try to save the Mars mission astronauts. She would find the manual override system and stop the launch, no matter what happened to her. Maya unlocked the bathroom door and stepped back into the corridor. But waiting for her outside were 3 security guards with empty, staring eyes. "Dr. Chen," one of them said in a flat, robotic voice. "Mr. Petrov wants to see you now." Maya stared at the 3 security guards with their empty, robotic eyes. She recognized one of them, Mike Torres, a friendly guard who used to joke with her about Texas barbecue whenever she visited the launch facility. Now Mike's face showed no emotion at all, and his voice sounded like a computer. "I need to use the bathroom first," Maya said, trying to buy time to think of an escape plan. "Mr. Petrov is waiting," Mike replied in his flat, controlled voice. "You will come now." Maya's mind raced as the guards surrounded her. She was trapped in a hallway, with no other exits. Through the windows, she could see the massive Starship rocket on the launch pad, with steam rising from the fuel systems. As the countdown continued, the digital clocks on the walls showed 9:15 a.m. The Mars mission would launch in just 45 minutes, sending hundreds of astronauts into space with Viktor Petrov's mind control implants hidden in their bodies. Maya remembered something her husband David had taught her about emergency situations. "If you can't fight and you can't run," David used to say, "create a distraction." Maya looked around the hallway and saw what she needed. A red fire alarm pull station mounted on the wall about 10 feet away. "Wait," Maya said to the guards. "I think I'm going to be sick." Maya bent over and pretended to feel dizzy, moving closer to the fire alarm. When she was close enough, Maya suddenly lunged forward and pulled the fire alarm lever as hard as she could. Immediately, loud sirens began blaring throughout the entire SpaceX facility. Emergency lights started flashing, and recorded announcements echoed through the building. "Fire alarm activated. This is not a drill. All personnel must evacuate immediately using the nearest exit." The 3 mind-controlled guards looked confused by the sudden chaos. Their programming probably didn't include instructions for handling fire emergencies. Maya took advantage of their confusion and ran down the hallway toward the nearest stairwell. Maya could hear the guards' footsteps following her, but the fire alarm had created exactly the distraction she needed. SpaceX employees were evacuating from offices and laboratories, creating crowds of people in the hallways. Maya ran down the stairs and joined a group of engineers who were heading toward the parking lot. She tried to blend in with the evacuation crowd, but she knew the mind-controlled guards would find her soon. Maya needed to reach the Launch Control Center and activate the mission abort system before Viktor Petrov's people caught her. But the control center was in a different building and she would have to cross open ground to get there. As Maya reached the ground floor, she saw fire trucks arriving at the SpaceX facility. Real firefighters in protective gear were entering the building to search for the source of the alarm. Maya had an idea. She approached one of the firefighters, a woman with kind eyes, who looked like she genuinely cared about helping people. "Excuse me," Maya said urgently. "I'm Dr. Maya Chen, a SpaceX engineer. There's a serious safety problem with today's rocket launch. Some of the equipment has been sabotaged, and the mission needs to be aborted immediately." The firefighter looked concerned. "Are you sure? This is a very serious accusation." Maya showed the firefighter her SpaceX employee badge and tried to sound as professional as possible. "I have evidence that someone has tampered with the astronauts' life support systems. If this launch continues, people could die." The firefighter spoke into her radio. "Captain, we have a SpaceX engineer reporting possible sabotage of today's Mars mission. She says the launch needs to be stopped immediately." Maya heard the fire captain's voice through the radio. "Take her to the Launch Control Center. We need to investigate this right away." The firefighter, whose name tag said Rodriguez, which made Maya think sadly of Dr. Rodriguez, escorted Maya toward the launch control building. Maya felt safer walking with a real firefighter who wasn't under Viktor Petrov's mind control. But as they approached the Launch Control Center, Maya saw Viktor Petrov himself standing near the entrance, with several of his bodyguards. He spotted Maya and smiled coldly. "Dr. Chen," Viktor Petrov called out. "There you are. I've been looking forward to our conversation." The firefighter looked confused. "Do you know this man, Dr. Chen?" Maya wanted to tell the firefighter that Viktor Petrov was a dangerous criminal, but she knew it would sound crazy. Instead, Maya grabbed the firefighter's arm and whispered urgently, That man is not who he says he is. Please help me get inside the building through a different entrance. Firefighter Rodriguez looked at Maya's frightened face and made a quick decision. There's a service entrance around back, she said. Follow me. Maya and the firefighter ran around the launch control building, while Viktor Petrov shouted orders to his men. Maya could hear them spreading out to search all the exits. The service entrance was locked, but firefighter Rodriguez used her emergency tools to open it. Maya was grateful that some people still wanted to help others, even when the situation seemed confusing. Inside the launch control building, Maya could see the main control room through glass windows. Dozens of SpaceX engineers were monitoring computer screens and preparing for the launch sequence. The digital countdown showed 9:35 a.m., only 25 minutes until launch. Maya needed to reach the mission abort system, but she could see that several of the engineers in the control room had the same empty, staring eyes as the security guards. Viktor Petrov had been planning this for a long time and had mind-controlled key people in every department. Which system do you need to access? Firefighter Rodriguez asked. Maya pointed to a red console in the center of the control room. That's the emergency abort system. If I can reach it, I can stop the launch and save the astronauts. But as Maya and the firefighter approached the control room entrance, the lights suddenly went out. Emergency power kicked in a few seconds later, but now the building was dimly lit with red emergency lighting. Maya heard Viktor Petrov's voice over the building's loudspeaker system. Dr. Chen, you're only delaying the inevitable. The launch will proceed as scheduled. Your sister Emma is waiting for you in conference room B. Come alone, or she dies in the next 5 minutes. Maya's heart filled with both hope and terror. Emma was here, at the SpaceX facility, but she was Viktor Petrov's prisoner. Maya had to choose between saving Emma and stopping the Mars mission. Firefighter Rodriguez looked at Maya with understanding eyes. You have to save your sister, she said. I'll try to reach the abort system while you deal with this Petrov guy. Maya felt grateful for the firefighter's bravery, but she knew that only she understood SpaceX's systems well enough to successfully abort the mission. Maya made the hardest decision of her life. I have to split up my efforts, she told the firefighter. Can you help me create one more distraction? Maya explained her desperate plan. Firefighter Rodriguez would activate the building's sprinkler systems, creating chaos and confusion. During the confusion, Maya would try to reach both conference room B to save Emma and the abort console to stop the launch. It was a nearly impossible plan, but it was their only chance to save everyone. Firefighter Rodriguez found the sprinkler system controls and looked at Maya seriously. Are you ready? Maya nodded, thinking about Emma, about Elon, about Dr. Rodriguez, and about the hundreds of astronauts who were counting on her to save them. Do it, Maya said. Water began pouring from the ceiling sprinklers throughout the entire building. Water crashed down from the ceiling sprinklers like a sudden rainstorm inside the SpaceX building. Within seconds, Maya was soaked to the skin and computer screens throughout the Launch Control Center began sparking and shutting down. The sprinkler system created exactly the chaos Maya needed. Mind-controlled SpaceX employees stood frozen and confused as water poured over their workstations. Their robotic programming didn't seem to include instructions for handling building emergencies. Maya ran through the flooded hallways toward conference room B, where Viktor Petrov was holding Emma prisoner. Her wet sneakers squeaked on the slippery floors, and she had to be careful not to fall on the slick surfaces. Maya found conference room B at the end of a long corridor. Through the glass door, she could see Emma tied to a chair with duct tape over her mouth. Emma's nurse uniform was torn, and she had a bruise on her left cheek, but her eyes were alert and full of fight. Standing next to Emma was Viktor Petrov, holding a small black device that looked like a TV remote control. Maya realized it was probably the controller for his mind control implants. Viktor Petrov saw Maya through the glass door and smiled coldly. He pressed a button on the remote, and suddenly Emma's eyes went blank and empty, just like the mind-controlled SpaceX employees. Maya felt sick with horror. Viktor Petrov had implanted his brain control device in Emma too. Maya opened the conference room door and stepped inside, water dripping from her hair and clothes. Let her go, Maya demanded. I'll give you whatever you want. It's too late for negotiations, Viktor Petrov replied. Your sister is now subject 4. Watch this. Viktor Petrov pressed another button on his remote. Emma's empty eyes focused on Maya, and she spoke in the same flat, robotic voice Maya had heard from the controlled guards. "Hello, Maya," Emma said without any emotion. "You should not have interfered with Mr. Petrov's important work." Tears filled Maya's eyes. This wasn't her real sister speaking. This was Viktor Petrov using Emma's voice like a puppet. Maya could hear the building's loudspeaker system announcing the launch countdown T-minus 15 minutes and counting. All systems are go for Mars mission launch. Maya had 15 minutes to save Emma and stop the rocket from launching with hundreds of unsuspecting astronauts. It seemed impossible, but Maya refused to give up. "The Mars launch will continue as planned," Viktor Petrov said. "Your sister will watch from this room as my mind-controlled astronauts begin humanity's first step toward my complete control of space exploration." Maya noticed that Viktor Petrov's remote control had gotten wet from the sprinkler water. Small drops were running down its surface, and one of the indicator lights was flickering. Maya had an idea. Electronics and water didn't mix well. If she could damage Viktor Petrov's controller, maybe she could free Emma and the other mind-controlled people. Maya pretended to collapse with exhaustion and despair. "I can't fight you anymore," she said, sinking to her knees on the wet floor. Viktor Petrov stepped closer to gloat over his victory. "You should have accepted my original offer. Now your sister will serve my organization forever." When Viktor Petrov was close enough, Maya suddenly lunged upward and grabbed his wrist, trying to wrestle the remote control away from him. Viktor Petrov was stronger than Maya, but the wet device was slippery in both of their hands. During their struggle, the remote control fell to the flooded floor with a splash. Maya quickly stomped on it with her foot, crushing the electronic circuits with her heel. Immediately, Emma's eyes cleared and focused. The blank, robotic expression disappeared from her face. "Maya?" Emma said in her normal, confused voice. "Where am I? What happened to me?" Maya felt a rush of joy and relief. "Emma, you're okay." Maya quickly untied Emma from the chair while Viktor Petrov shouted angrily and reached for a backup controller in his jacket pocket. "Run, Emma," Maya yelled. "Get out of the building and find the firefighters outside." Emma, still confused but trusting her sister, ran out of the conference room toward the exit. Viktor Petrov pulled out his backup controller and pressed buttons frantically. But many of his mind-controlled employees throughout the building were no longer responding. The water damage from the sprinklers had disrupted the electronic signals that controlled their brain implants. "You've ruined months of careful planning," Viktor Petrov snarled at Maya. "But the Mars launch will still happen. The astronauts' implants are controlled by a different system." Maya realized she had won a small victory by freeing Emma and some of the controlled employees, but the biggest threat was still the rocket launch in less than 10 minutes. Maya ran out of the conference room and headed toward the launch control center. She could hear Viktor Petrov shouting orders to his remaining followers, but many of them seemed confused and disoriented as their mind control programming failed. In the launch control center, Maya saw that about half of the SpaceX engineers had regained their normal personalities and were looking around in bewilderment, but the other half were still under control, and they were continuing the launch sequence. The giant screens showed the Starship rocket on the launch pad, with white clouds of super cold fuel vapors surrounding its base. Maya could see the crew transport vehicles arriving at the pad, carrying the astronauts who would unknowingly become Viktor Petrov's test subjects. Maya pushed through the crowd of wet, confused engineers toward the red mission abort console in the center of the room. But as she reached for the abort controls, a mind-controlled engineer grabbed her arm. "Launch sequence cannot be interrupted," the engineer said in a robotic voice. Maya struggled with the controlled engineer while precious seconds ticked away. Other SpaceX employees who had regained their free will tried to help Maya, but more mind-controlled workers moved to stop them. The control room became a chaotic battle between free-thinking humans and Viktor Petrov's robotic servants. Maya managed to break free and reach the abort console, but when she pressed the emergency stop button, nothing happened. The launch sequence continued automatically. Maya realized that Viktor Petrov had programmed the rocket's computers to ignore abort commands. Even if she destroyed every controller in the building, the Starship would launch on schedule. The countdown continued, T-minus 5 minutes and counting. Maya looked through the control room windows at the massive rocket on the launch pad. There was only one way to stop the launch now, and it would require her to risk everything. Maya had to physically reach the rocket itself and shut down its engines manually before it lifted off. But the launch pad was surrounded by a field of superheated exhaust that would kill anyone who got too close during the final countdown. Maya ran out of the control building toward the launch pad, knowing she might not survive the next 5 minutes. Maya ran across the SpaceX facility as fast as she had ever run in her life. Her wet clothes felt heavy, and her lungs burned as she sprinted toward the massive Starship rocket standing on the launch pad like a silver skyscraper. The loudspeakers continued their countdown, T-minus 3 minutes and counting. All systems nominal. Maya could see the astronauts in their white spacesuits walking across the crew access bridge toward the spacecraft. They looked excited and proud to be part of humanity's greatest adventure. They had no idea that Viktor Petrov's mind control implants were hidden inside their emergency medical kits. Maya reached the perimeter fence around the launch pad and used her SpaceX badge to open the security gate. Warning signs everywhere said danger, authorized personnel only, lethal exhaust zone. Maya could feel the heat from the rocket's engines even though they weren't at full power yet. The air around the launch pad shimmered like a desert mirage from the super hot gases coming from the Starship's base. Maya knew that when the engines reached full power for launch, the temperature around the rocket would be over 3,000 degrees Fahrenheit. Hot enough to melt steel and definitely hot enough to kill a human being in seconds. But Maya also knew exactly where to find the manual engine shutdown system. Every SpaceX rocket had an emergency override panel built into its base structure, designed to be used by ground crews if something went wrong during fueling. Maya ran toward the rocket, getting closer to the deadly heat with every step. The countdown continued. T-minus 2 minutes and counting. Maya could see Viktor Petrov and his remaining bodyguards running toward the launch pad behind her, but they were too far away to stop her now. As Maya got within 100 feet of the rocket, the heat became almost unbearable. It felt like opening the door to a giant oven. Maya pulled her wet SpaceX jacket over her head to protect her face and kept running. T-minus 1 minute and counting. Engine startup sequence initiated. The rocket's engines began their final preparation phase. Maya could hear the thunderous roar of fuel pumps and the whistling of super cold liquid oxygen flowing through massive pipes. The ground under her feet vibrated from the incredible power building up inside the Starship. Maya reached the base of the rocket just as the engines began to ignite. Flames started shooting out from the engine bells, and the heat became so intense that Maya's jacket began to smoke. Maya found the emergency shutdown panel exactly where she knew it would be, a red metal box marked Manual Engine Cutoff, for emergency use only. Maya's hands were shaking from fear and pain as the heat burned her skin, but she managed to open the panel and see the emergency controls inside. T-minus 30 seconds and counting. Maya had to enter a special abort code into the emergency system to shut down the engines. Maya's fingers flew over the keypad, typing the numbers she had memorized years ago during her safety training. 7. But when Maya pressed the final button, nothing happened. The engines continued building power, and the heat was getting worse every second. Maya realized that Viktor Petrov must have changed the abort codes to prevent anyone from stopping the launch. Maya would have to try a different approach. T-minus 15 seconds. Engine ignition sequence complete. Maya could see a manual fuel shutoff valve near the base of the rocket. If she could turn the valve to cut off the fuel flow, the engines would shut down automatically. But the valve was even closer to the deadly exhaust flames. Maya took a deep breath of the scorching air and ran toward the valve. The heat was so intense that she felt like she was being cooked alive. But she kept moving. T-minus 10. Maya reached the fuel valve just as the rocket engines roared to full power. The noise was so loud that it felt like her eardrums might burst. The heat was so intense that Maya could smell her hair burning. Maya grabbed the emergency fuel valve with both hands and turned it as hard as she could. The metal was burning hot and Maya screamed in pain as her skin blistered. But she kept turning the valve. T-minus 5. For a terrifying moment, nothing happened. The rocket continued building thrust, and Maya thought she had failed. But then suddenly the fuel flow stopped. The rocket engines began shutting down and the tremendous roar raged to a quiet hiss. Maya collapsed on the ground near the rocket base, her hands badly burned and her clothes smoking from the heat. But she had done it. The Mars mission launch had been stopped. Maya looked up and saw the Starship rocket settling back onto the launch pad instead of rising into the sky. The astronauts inside were safe, and Viktor Petrov's mind control experiment had been prevented. Medical teams rushed to help Maya as she lay on the concrete near the rocket. Emma was among the first Franceurs, having escaped from the building and alerted the emergency crews about what was happening. "Maya," Emma cried as she knelt beside her sister. "You did it! You stopped the launch and saved everyone." Maya was too weak and hurt to speak, but she smiled when she saw that Emma's eyes were clear and normal. Emma was herself again, no longer under Viktor Petrov's control. As the medical team loaded Maya onto a stretcher, she could see FBI agents arresting Viktor Petrov and his remaining followers. Without his mind control systems working properly, Viktor Petrov was just another criminal who would spend the rest of his life in prison. Maya also saw something that made her heart fill with joy. Elon Musk was being helped by doctors who were working to safely remove the mind control implant from his brain. Even from a distance, Maya could tell that Elon's eyes looked more alert and aware than they had in the conference room. Dr. Rodriguez was there too, also receiving medical treatment to reverse his mind control implant. Maya felt grateful that both men might be saved from Viktor Petrov's evil technology. 3 days later, Maya woke up in a hospital bed in Houston, Texas. Her hands were bandaged from the burns, but the doctors said she would make a full recovery. Emma was sitting in a chair next to Maya's bed, reading a newspaper with a huge headline, "SpaceX Engineer Saves Mars Mission from Mind Control Plot." "You're famous," Emma told Maya with a big smile. "The whole world knows how brave you were." Rebecca Walsh came to visit Maya in the hospital, bringing flowers and a copy of her follow-up article in the Washington Post. The article told the complete story of how Maya had exposed Viktor Petrov's conspiracy and risked her life to save the Mars astronauts. But the best visitor was Elon Musk himself. 3 days after the failed launch, Elon came to Maya's hospital room looking like his old self again. Energetic, excited, and full of plans for the future. "Maya," Elon said, his voice back to its normal enthusiastic tone. "I remember sending you that emergency message before Viktor Petrov captured me. I knew you were the only person brave enough and smart enough to stop his plan." Elon explained that he had complete memories of everything that happened while he was mind-controlled. "It is like being trapped inside my own head, watching someone else control my body," Elon said. Viktor Petrov was planning to expand his program to world leaders and eventually control entire governments. Elon took Maya's bandaged hand gently. "There's something else you need to know, Maya. Something I discovered just before Viktor Petrov's people captured me." Maya waited, sensing that this final secret would explain everything that had happened. "Your husband David didn't stumble onto Viktor Petrov's plan by accident," Elon said quietly. "He was working undercover for the FBI, investigating Neural Dynamics' secret military contracts. The FBI had been tracking Viktor Petrov for 3 years, but they needed someone on the inside to gather evidence." Maya's eyes filled with tears as she finally understood the truth. Her husband wasn't just an innocent victim. He was a hero who had died trying to protect the world from mind control technology. "The FBI asked me to tell you that David's sacrifice wasn't meaningless," Elon continued. "His evidence helped them build the case against Viktor Petrov. And your courage completed what David started." Maya finally understood why David had been scared those last few weeks before his death. He knew he was risking everything to stop a conspiracy that could enslave humanity's minds. And now, working together with Elon, Maya had finished what David had begun. 6 months later, Maya stood on the same launch pad where she had almost died. This time she was watching the first real Mars mission launch, with properly designed Neuralink implants that truly helped astronauts without controlling their thoughts. Dr. Rodriguez, fully recovered from his ordeal, waved to Maya from the mission control room. Viktor Petrov was serving life in prison for crimes against humanity. And Elon Musk was back to his normal, enthusiastic self, leading humanity's journey to the stars. As the Starship rocket rose into the blue Texas sky, carrying its crew of brave astronauts to Mars, Maya knew that her husband David would be proud. Together they had stopped the greatest threat to human freedom that the world had ever known. The last message from Elon Musk hadn't just been a cry for help. It had been the beginning of humanity's salvation. Maya Chen's brave journey from a grieving engineer to humanity's savior shows us that sometimes the most ordinary people can do the most extraordinary things. Her husband David's sacrifice, Elon's desperate warning, and Maya's courage all came together to save the world from a terrible fate. We'd love to know, where are you listening from today? Drop a comment below and tell us your city or country. It's amazing to connect with listeners from all around the world. If you enjoyed this thrilling story about courage, conspiracy, and the fight for human freedom, please give this video a thumbs up. Your likes help us know what stories you love most and encourage us to keep creating exciting content for you. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit that notification bell so you never miss our latest stories. We have many more incredible tales waiting for you, from heartwarming adventures to edge-of-your-seat thrillers like this one. Most importantly, please share this video with your friends and family. Stories have the power to bring people together, spark important conversations, and spread both kindness and awareness about the world around us. When we share meaningful stories, we help create a more connected and thoughtful community. Thank you for joining Maya on her incredible journey. Until next time, keep believing in the power of ordinary heroes to change the world. Stay curious, stay brave, and we'll see you in the next story.